change in the workforce. I mean, the work,
Yeah.
it's not a 9 to 5 or a
Oh
9 to
my
7.
God, yeah.
With these
Right,
phones, you're
right.
basically on call constantly, you're connected constantly,
Right.
and consequently, your work life is more your family, it's more integrated. You have to be a little bit more reflective and candid about what's going on, because each really impacts the other. You can't like shut down, okay, now I'm changing gears and now I'm going to be, wife and mom.
I was hoping that we would get to that, because I do think that there are different expectations. I have 2 daughters in college, and I see how they're transitioning, and they have different expectations, and they're going to go out into the workforce and I'm sure take over the world. But they're also, if they choose to be wives and mothers, are going to have to find that balance. And that balance for working mothers is different than it is for working dads.
Right.
And I'm the mother of 3, and I will tell you that that is the hardest thing in the world to do, because we're competing in a man's world with different expectations. So the most challenging part of my journey was not any challenge I had at work. It was dealing with being the mom, and I have an extraordinary husband, very supportive, couldn't be more 50-50 kind of guy. But there are just times that kids just want their moms. And I feel that that happens a lot more than they just want their dads.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that that's an extraordinary challenge. So I think we're all in the race, right? We're all racing together. But some of us have a big anchor around our foot.
Right.
And not that that's a bad thing. I love my anchors desperately. They're my whole life. But that extra pull when you're trying to move forward is an extraordinary piece of this puzzle in terms of moving women forward. Cheryl talks about it a little bit in Lean In.
Right.
Don't, leave before you leave. But it's also unrealistic. There's like the 3 Sheryl Sandberg jobs in this world, where you can leave at 5. That just doesn't exist. And so I think there's a myth that she's creating, that there's some sort of easy path to this as a working mom. So in listening to all of this, that's part of what I'm thinking of. Yes, I think our daughters have a different path. I think they have a higher expectation. And I think that that's interesting. I didn't have an expectation either of doing anything, so I think that was great. Wow, surprise. But I think it's
How
harder.
did you personally kind of overcome that in your own life? This sort of idea that you had to balance your home life and your work life and be as good as the men who didn't necessarily have those pressures.
No, she had to be twice as good as the men.
Right.
She had to do all that and be twice as good as a man to get where you got.
I actually think that we probably have to try harder and do more, and to stay in the race neck and neck. I really do think it's a higher bar. It's a harder bar. And that's not poor, pitiful martyr talking.
no.
That's just,
The way it
I
is,
think
it's
it
the
is
truth.
really the way it is.